Hello and welcome back to the Wine Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Heather Danitz, owner and founder of Craft and Cluster. Today we are talking with Erica Walter of Email Mavens fame. If you've attended DTC Symposium in the last 5 years, you've probably seen one of her awesome workshops. In any case, I think you are going to get a ton of value out of today's episode. Hi, Erica.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here.
Yay! So happy to have you here. Can you, before we get started, before we dive into the meat of today, can you give us the Cliff's Notes version of who Erica is?
Oh, so the corny way that I always introduce myself on stage is, my name is Erica Walter, and email marketing is more than my bread and butter. It's the jam. And I have been in the email marketing for wineries space for almost 20 years. So I'm like an OG email marketer. I've helped wineries of all sizes grow their businesses online because of effective email marketing communications. And my passion is, of course, creating like eyeball bursting awesome emails that sell wine online, but even more so is empowering wineries to pull it off in-house, because not every winery is going to have a massive budget to do it on their own, to pay an agency or whatever. But I think that it's an underutilized marketing medium in the wine industry as a whole. So really helping demystify email marketing and help wineries tap into the revenue potential is like the Erica Walter Cliff's Notes version. Was that Cliff's Notes? It might have been too long.
No, that's great. I love that. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. And you're right, because I think the email marketing is so, like, wineries know, we were talking about this before we started recording, but a lot of wineries that I work with know how important email marketing is, but maybe they don't know how to do it themselves, or they're intimidated by it, or they're like, I'm just going to do a newsletter and then people are going to buy from me and that's going to be great. And it's like, oh, there's a little bit more to it than that. So I'm really excited to get into today's conversation with you because it's just, yeah. And for everyone who might be a little concerned, we are going to have Erica back on as often as she is willing, because email marketing is such a rich topic and there's so much into it. But today we're kind of going to go over some of the big picture, kind of the, bird's eye view, if you will. So I do want to start with kind of the big question, right? So why is email still one of the most effective sales channels for wineries, even in 2025?
Well, I think that 2020 may have unlocked for many of us, 2020, 2021, that our email lists were a powerful revenue channel opportunity for us. When everything else was shut down, all of a sudden we were exclusively reliant upon digital mediums to reach our customers. Email, unlike certain other platforms, is something you own. You own your email list. You have permission to reach out to these people. And so that's like probably the reason number one. It's people who've given you permission to stay in touch with them. They engage with your content. They've probably bought from you, or they're your wine club members. And so maintaining that channel of communication is critical, not just in 2020 and 2021 when everything is shut down, but throughout the year, all the time. So I think that unlocked for us in 21, maybe. But now, because other things are open and everyone caught on, the inboxes are crowded and everything is kind of noisy. And so this is where maybe the flip side of like email's still the jam is that we can't just do email like every other winery is doing email. We have to discover and really claim what email is going to be for our winery and then own it like a freaking boss. So email marketing, I see it. It's generating 6 and 7 figures in online sales for the people that I work with. I want to see it do that for more wineries, but it isn't just from sending a monthly newsletter. It's from thoughtfully curated content. It's from hyper segmented emails. It's from nurture programs and automated campaigns that are running in the background. It's optimizing the entire inbox journey. And that takes a little bit more effort than just a monthly newsletter that we slap together. So
yeah. Can you give us an idea of the different types of emails that wineries can send? Because you mentioned newsletters and all that, but what are some other emails that wineries can send?
Yeah, I had like an email marketing aha moment, like when I worked for another agency years ago. Our agency, all we did was promotional emails for wineries. We would send your event emails. We would send your Black Friday email. We would send your tax day email.
What?
I know.
What even is that?
hurts my heart a little. But we would do that, right?
Yeah.
And that was all that we did. And we got paid money as an email marketing agency to only focus on this one aspect of the ecosystem. But to really generate the kind of holistically like sustainable email marketing results that a winery is capable of, there are other types of emails that are important to consider. The transactional emails that go out that are accompanying a purchase, or sorry, I'm moving around, password forgot emails, your shipment notify emails, all of those transactional emails, huge underutilized opportunity. Your batch and blast promotional emails, things that you're going to send on a regular basis, things about events, storytelling, promotions, releases, invitations, member exclusives, those emails are more batch and blast. But then there's in the middle of that, there's all of this stuff that's happening with the customer that could be a journey-based automated email that they're triggered by an action the customer takes, or the last time they took an action, or their location to your winery. All of a sudden, I'm getting your promotional emails, but I'm also getting a nurture series because I bought your Syrah release last month. And now I know what to expect when it arrives. And I have a recipe to pair with it when it gets to my doorstep. And I know how long I should hold on to it. Like those automated emails are hugely powerful. And then managing your list's engagement to ensure that when people opt out, we're figuring out why. So there's like a whole email marketing journey. And like my aha moment like 15 years ago was we're only focused on this one thing and we're getting paid for it, but there's all of this other stuff that's not getting attention. So when I started my business 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago, that was what I wanted to focus on the most, was the holistic, like the foundational email essentials that make a winery or any business's program successful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of what I say with social media is usually when I come into a take over a winery's social media, the one thing that I see them doing a lot is posting bottle porn, which is, or what I call bottle porn, which is basically just, bottle shots of and just doing like a ton of promotional content, but they're not also filling in those, making those, I think you kind of use this analogy of depositing into the bank versus withdrawing, where depositing the value and the behind the scenes and all these things as well. So I like that you're approaching the email list kind of the same way, where it's like, okay, well, we're going to sell, yes, because that is the purpose of the email list, but we're also going to do all of these other things and make sure that there's a whole kind of ecosystem behind the email list that supports those different parts of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I got down the rabbit hole of like the journey and the types, but I didn't really talk about like kind of the main type, which is like what I send to a list on a regular basis. So you kind of summed it up with your social media tie-in, right? It's not just a sale, it's storytelling, it's, engagement and nurture and information gathering and surveying and just touching base. I think we downplay the importance of just a personal email every once in a while, the customer that's of high value to us. And then you could set that up in your email service provider to go out on automatic. You have to be thinking about it. Oh my God. Anyways.
We love automations. So great. They're such a beast to set up, but they're so worthwhile once they are. And yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, kind of on the topic of cadence, how often, because I feel like this is the question that a lot of wineries are going to be asking and like shouting at the podcast right now, is like, how often should I be emailing?
Yeah.
What factors should they consider when deciding on their frequency and cadence?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many things to take into consideration here. Like, I hate to be this person that's like, it depends, but it depends. There isn't a silver bullet answer. What I oftentimes will say, because I get this question basically anytime I speak, it's like, but how much is too much? And I think most wineries err on the side of not enough. And then when they send an email, Heather, what they do is they're like, well, shit, it's been 6 weeks since I emailed my customers and I have a backlog of things they need to know. And so I'm going to cram all that shit into one email. And so then what you've done is you've created a really unpleasant email for you to create, right? It's like, I got to remember to tell them about this release. And oh yeah, the, soiree is coming and we've got harvest update and we got to make sure we squeeze in that there's sheep. And like, then all of a sudden this email is like 8 different pieces of content. So it's a pain for you and you have no way to know that your customer actually wants it. The longer your email gets, the harder it is for your customer to know what it is you want them to do with all the information. And you're training your customer that you're going to send them long ass emails. And so like most of us aren't like super excited about getting a long ass email. So pairing it back to the cadence thing for a second, my like kind of like table stakes cadence that you cannot deviate from is that your whole list of people who are opted in to hear from you should hear from you at least once a month. If you're not in their inbox at least once a month, Marie Forleo calls it the "Hey, I'm alive" factor. I have gotten like 2 emails a year from this one winery. And I'm like, I know that's the expectation they set. They're an allocation based brand. I get it. But it's so noisy at like twice a year. I don't even I'm not setting a reminder that I want to check and make sure I got an email from Cayuse in April. Like I need to be like nurtured and reminded, and they need to have a track record of showing up in my inbox for me to for inbox providers to even put them where I'm going to be able to see them. So there's a lot of reasons I like the once a month, but from a consumer perspective, anything longer than that, they're going to feel less connected. And it's going to be like, what's this email from so-and-so winery? Like, it's been 6 months since I visited them and now they're in my inbox. From there, so if you can identify a reason every month to show up in the inbox and deliver value to your subscribers or engage with them or mix up, different varieties of content. From there, I think there's a really the wineries that are going to win right now are going to be the ones that are thinking very strategically about the individuals on their list. Now, I have this belief that second to your wine, your email list is your most important asset as a winery. And a lot of wineries are just calling it a list. Like it's the list. Or you'll be like, okay, there's your list. How many subscribers do you have? And they're like, well, our list is 20,000 subscribers. Okay, that's 20,000 individual humans, except for maybe a couple of bots, right? That's real human beings that have all engaged with you over time in different ways. They've told you with zero party data, like forms they filled out or whatever else, what they like, who they are. And they've also indicated to you their preferences through the way they engage with your email or your website, whether they're a club member or not. So all of a sudden we're shouting at everyone all the same way month over month. That's not a winning strategy either. We need to be thinking about how we can break the list into the unique subsets of our subscribers so that we're telling them stories and timing our messaging to them in a way that makes it feel more one-to-one and not batch and blast. Or as I call it, push and pray.
Yeah.
Push send, pray for money. So from your monthly sort of whatever table stakes type of communication, I think that I have wineries I work with who are sending an email every other day to subsets of their email list, and they're still maintaining incredibly high open-end click-through rates and low unsubscribe rates. So it really does matter. It's a little bit about what you have in your arsenal to play with, right? If you only release 6 wines every year and you're only open for 6 months out of the year, you probably don't have an email in you every other day. But I think if you are a winery that's trying to scale and grow, I think you need to be thinking about how could you maybe take it from once a month to twice a month. And then maybe you get to 3 times a month, and where you start to identify whether or not it's too much is by monitoring the engagement in those emails. The indicators that you're looking for are increase of opt-outs and a decrease in your open rates. If those things start to go from high opens and low unsubs to this, then you want to start maybe going back to the 2 a month or whatever. And then the other piece of the puzzle that I want to just call out, and something that I really appreciate about you and the way that you talk about social, Heather, is it also has to be doable for you. A lot of wineries have a marketer. If they even have a person who's exclusively dedicated to marketing, that marketer is doing all of the marketing. And so to
Hmm.
be doing an email every other day could very literally not be possible without some really savvy content creation and like batch work and things like that. So it's a balancing act of what your list will sustain and what you have bandwidth to deliver. But at the end of the day, the measure of your success is going to be in setting expectations with your subscribers from the start that you're going to email them on a regular basis, whatever that looks like for you, and then following through on that. If you promise them a monthly email and don't show up for 6 months, that's breaking a promise. And they're also gonna be like, what the hell? If you promise
Hmm.
them a monthly email and then you show up in their inbox every week, that's also breaking a promise. And it's creating dissonance for the subscriber in what to expect. So we really want to decide and say like, hey, we're going to email you once a month on a good month, maybe twice, right? That could be the expectation in your welcome email and in your opt-in forms and when your team is asking for email addresses at the tasting room. And then you set that expectation and follow through for a while. And then every once in a while, you might have to boost your frequency to hit a number or whatever else. You tell your customers, hey, it's our Cyber Week. We're going to email you every day this week. If you don't like that, push this button to pause. Like
Hmm.
you can fluctuate, it's not like once you say you have to stick to it, but I do think most wineries err on the side of not enough and jamming so many things into one email. Like if you peanut butter those emails out over a 3-week period and sent a dedicated email about each of those 3 content pieces instead of cramming it into one, you'd have much better engagement and your subscribers would have a better experience.
Yeah.
Long-winded.
No, no, I love it. I kind of want to go back to what you were talking about, sort of the minimum amount being like
Yeah.
once a month, because I I just want to kind of give wineries a little bit of perspective here on how it feels to be on the receiving end of only getting emails sporadically, not on a regular cadence. Because going back to talking about COVID and when we first went into lockdown, that first week I got more emails than I have ever received in my entire life. Like emails from lists that I didn't even remember subscribing to. That's how infrequently they were emailing me. Like I was getting emails from these before COVID, I was getting emails from some of these brands, these businesses once a year, maybe. Like some of them, again, like I was like, I don't even remember signing up for this list. I don't remember purchasing a product from you. I don't even know how I got on this list. And they're emailing me, and it felt like when you call your parents because you need something, right? And if that's the only time you communicate with them, it makes them feel like shit. They're like, oh, you're only going to call me because you need money. Oh, you need money. So that's why you're calling me. That is how it felt to me. And I was like, oops, sorry, mom. Sorry, I used to do that to you. So yeah, I think that's really important to note that like when you're not emailing on a regular cadence and you're also not including some of those value add type informational emails kind of sporadically in between your promotional emails, it can just feel like all you're doing is emailing them when you need something, and that sucks. It feels really icky to be on the receiving end of that. So yeah, just wanted to add my little 2 cents to that.
Totally. I mean, that, and like I got that kind of goes to like, this is not what our topic is, but SMS marketing. Okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
there are becoming more and more brands getting savvy to SMS as a mechanism for generating revenue. But if you don't have a consistent strategy for that, guess what you are? The winery who texts me Black Friday and never another time. And you're
Mm-hmm.
lumped in with all 47 other texts I have from businesses who I purchased from in the last year.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to be more likely to purchase from somebody I've purchased from before and have heard from regularly than somebody who only emails me or texts me once a year, once every, 7 months or whatever.
Right.
So, yeah. So just also keep that in the back of your minds that you want to build that trust factor in. And that's what those regular cadence emails are doing, is you're building that trust. So yes, I love it. I love it. Okay. So I think we kind of touched a little bit on automation. And so, what is one automation that you think every single winery should have set up like today? Like yesterday, but today,
The best time to start investing was 20 years ago, and then the time is today. So if I was asked to speak on stage for an hour about any topic, it would be winery welcome emails,
Mm-hmm.
because the winery welcome email is the most important email that wineries send. And a lot of wineries, I shouldn't say most, but a very high percentage of wineries are not sending anything at all. So we're literally no showing our subscribers when they opt in. Or the thing that they are getting is the generic out of the box MailChimp, whatever, or like a transactional email from Commerce 7 or Wine Direct, RIP. Like it's like an out of the box that no one has looked at in years. So when a subscriber opts in to receive emails from your business, and this is just across the board, right? The data suggests, and I don't have like 2025 data, but I do have like in the last couple of years, it's always been around 75 to 76% of consumers expect an email immediately after they give their email address to the business. Wineries, by and large, are in like the 50 to 55%. And I've like done this. This is not like across all of the wineries in all of the world, but like I'll go into a room to speak and I'll sign up for every winery in that room's list in advance. And it's about 50 to 60% are actually delivering on that promise. So when you have this huge gap in customer expectations, that's a problem, right? They're excited, they're opted in, they're looking to see what you're going to send them. They're literally refreshing their inbox looking for something from you, and you don't show up. So number one, it's like kind of a gap in customer expectations and what you're delivering as a business. But number two, it is the most engaged besides like joining your club or buying wine from you. It's the most engaged with your brand they're ever going to be in terms of inbox. And so if you miss an opportunity to deliver an email to them in that window and have them open it and engage with it, your inbox placement, so this is like more technical and lame, but like you're more likely to go to the promotions tab, which means they're never going to see your email. So you just spent a bunch of time and energy, you put in a pop-up on your website and you gave $1 to your teammate or whatever, getting the email address, and it will never actualize as revenue for you because you didn't give them an immediate welcome email. So there's like there's like just a lot of technical reasons I like a welcome email, but also your welcome email helps them know what to expect. Going back to cadence, right? Like we're going to show up in your email inbox every other week on Tuesday. We load these emails with opportunities to see behind the scenes of our process, to the winery that you will never have anywhere other than our email list, stories from our winemaker that are exclusive to our VIPs. Like when you make email from your winery feel like almost as cool as being in your wine club, like then I'm excited. I'm looking for the email, but your welcome email is what sets the tone for that. And if your welcome email is just like, cool, you're subscribed, then you're also missing the boat. So that's the other thing is like, I would say maybe 50 to 60% of wineries are sending a welcome email, but a lot of it is like, got it, and not like, thank you for the value of your attention. We don't take this lightly. It's our privilege to share our wines with you in person and to show up in your inbox. Here's what we're going to do to earn that privilege. Like that feels so much different than like, click this link to confirm your interest or whatever. So I just think I could go on and on and on about a welcome email, but it is the crucial email that wineries can send to set the tone for what they're going to get going forward. And if you believe that email marketing is a revenue channel for your winery and you don't have a welcome email, that could be like, let's say like you believe it, but you're not seeing it. Missing a welcome email could be the missing piece because you're not bridging the gap from their giving you permission to market and the marketing itself.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I mean, so what would you like, what's your ideal welcome email include then?
So I actually built a scorecard because we live in a 100-point world, right? Like,
yes,
we want to score 100 points with our wines and also with our welcome email. So a winning welcome email is delivered immediately. So as soon as someone subscribes, they get an email in their inbox. That's part of the points. There's like, I actually have a scorecard you can download, but it's like delivered immediately, acknowledges the value of attention by saying thank you, reiterates why it's good to be on the list. So like, it's not just now you're on the list, yay. It's like, no, now you will be the first to know about new releases, or now you will get, like, it's all the things that you tell them when you're getting their email address, like why it's different to get your winery's emails than anyone else's. You want to reinforce that and give them something to look forward to. You want to give them something to do if you can, right? So some wineries will like use a lead magnet or an offer to convert new email subscribers. So if you promise them something when they are opting in to receive email from you, you should give it to them. So it might be like, member pricing on your first online order or a 2-for-1 tasting or whatever. If you offered that as a hook for giving the email address away, tell them like how to claim it and give them a link to take action with it. So that's like kind of reinforcing why it's good to be on the list, but also it's like, oh, by the way, we promised you this. Here's the, link to shop our current, top sellers. Click here or whatever. And then sets expectation on frequency and asks for whitelisting. So this is where you remind them, okay, now that you're subscribed, you're going to be hearing from us every other Tuesday or every Friday. Like I send the email party on Thursday. So I tell people when they subscribe, you're also, maybe they opted in for a freebie or a resource or whatever, but I'm like, you're also going to get our weekly email party every Thursday. We drop into your inbox with knowledge bombs, hot takes, swipe files, tools to help you send marketing emails that sell, that don't suck, right? So they know it's happening on Thursday. A gold star with this, because I say encourage whitelisting, but a lot of customers don't know what that means. So a gold star that you could do is like, hey, if this showed up in your promotions tab, drag it on over to the primary, right?
Mhm.
If you had to look for us in the, what is it? With now Apple Mail has like the announcement. What's the shoehorn? I don't know what it is. And I'm doing gestures, and for the YouTubers, they don't look appropriate. Like there's different categories of inbox now for Apple Mail, which is huge. Open rates are declining because of this.
Mhm.
So where I'm going with that is telling your customer in the welcome email how to show their inbox provider that emails from you are valuable is another kind of hot take to do in your welcome email to help with inbox placement moving forward. But those are some of the things that a welcome email should do, is like automatically delivered, acknowledge and say thank you, give them something to do or look forward to next, remind them why it's good to be on the list. If you offered them something, give it to them, and then set expectations on frequency and whitelisting. And if that's all in a welcome email, and it doesn't have to be a lot. I know it sounds like a lot because I just said it, but like it could be a paragraph and an inset box or a PM. It doesn't have to be a ton.
Yeah. I love
And
that.
if you're sending a welcome series, right? Like if maybe you want to do some more onboarding, you could include something that says like, hey, over the next 3 days, we're going to send you 3 different emails that help you get acquainted with our property even more. So then you have some flexibility with your customer to just tell your history legacy story, and then just tell your sustainability story, and then just showcase your wines, right? Like a welcome series is another great way to nurture subscribers. But if you're going to send a welcome email that's going to tee up a series, tell them that that's what you're doing, because that also increases the open rates throughout the series.
I love that.
On and on.
So I know it's great. And I think that maybe that's our next episode with you is just talking about welcome series, welcome emails.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be really, really valuable for this gang that's listening in.
Yeah.
So you did mention lead generators briefly, and and all that. Are there any really creative ways that you've seen wineries incentivize those signups and do those lead generators?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of interesting ways to fish for customers in the online space and off. But I've seen it all. I'm happy with a fishbowl if that's what it's going to take to get the subscribers to fork over their email address. A winery I work with here in Walla Walla has a kiosk almost set up. It's not a kiosk, but it's like a display in their tasting room that's a monthly giveaway of like beautiful items that kind of align with their brand, a candle and a cookbook and it's maybe a $50 prize, but you enter to win it by giving your email address to the winery. So they're gathering email addresses from something very physical that's in the tasting room at the end of the month. If they win it, then they're reached out to. But if they don't win it, they're told like, hey, you didn't win this, but you're still a winner. Here's this other thing, or like, here's the rest of our onboarding series. So they're being brought into the fold in a way that's like really relevant to being in the tasting room. It's a more like, especially like if you're going tasting with 4 friends and you made the reservation and you buy and your 3 friends didn't, but they had a great time. Like that's a way to get the email addresses of all the people in the party, as well as like a fun way to engage around beautiful products. And if that aligns with your brand, the downside of doing giveaways or sweepstakes is that you're oftentimes connecting with customers who are mostly just interested in some free shit, and they're not necessarily your best ideal new subscribers. So a process that we take, the email mavens take new clients through, is called creating their email program value statement. The email program value statement is really about identifying what's going to be unique about your email list and then who wants that. And instead of just trying to get a bunch of volume, you're really more focused on aligning the contacts that you're attracting with the things you're going to deliver. If your email program is largely educational, you don't really want a deal hunter, but you've got a 20% off in your pop-up. So that's what you're attracting, whether you like it or not. So I like to help wineries establish that at the front end and then align how they're growing their email list with that program value statement, rather than being like, oh, we're going to do a quiz this month, then we'll do a giveaway next month. And then, so if you have like a mission statement for your email, that makes it a lot easier for you to know who you should be attracting and what might be appealing to them, and design freebies and offers that they might like. And I say freebies, we're not giving anything away for free here, people.
No.
Like one winery that I work with in New Zealand had this great recipe pairing guide, and it was a PDF downloadable thing that you got when you opted in for their emails. And so it was a softer way to sell wine than like a promotion, because it was obviously still weaving in wines that paired well with those recipes, but it was a much more lifestyle focused angle. And because food was a big component of their overall ethos and programming, it aligned really well with the kinds of customers they'd want to have on their email list anyway, right? Foodies who also enjoy a great pairing. And that's also a lot of work. Let's just be real. Preparing PDF or whatever is work. So another thing that works really well that you're probably already doing is attracting new subscribers through like an early access list. Let's say you know you're going to be doing a Memorial Day weekend sale, or you know you're going to do a Valentine's Day something, right? Like if you know you're already planning a promotional of some sort, you could use an early access list as a way to grow your list of people who are super excited about that specific event. And that's a great way to get people on the list from social media and other channels that are already sort of in your world, but might not necessarily be email subscribers. We have a winery that we're working with that's doing a new kind of program, and it's always on this like this specific day of the month. And so they have this new reason to say like, hey, if you're not on the email list, you'll never know about this. Like get on the email list for access to this thing. And that's another, like, you're already doing the work. You just need a form connected to the sale. And so that's another kind of angle that I've seen work well. The other one, I'm just going to keep going. The other one that was really fun, I went wine tasting back in June in Yakima, and I was at Owen Rowe Winery, and they brought out the tasting. And I'm not a big fan of like the buggy, like, I don't know, it's not a buggy. It's like a little cart, little caddy full of wine poured already. But they brought out the wine that was all poured in these little carafes, and then they gave you your sheet like, this is, you know, this is this, this is this, and then you'll notice there are 6 poured wines here, but only 5 on your card. You're going to taste the last one and make a guess at what it is. Write your guess on the back of this contact card, and then everyone who guesses correctly is entered to win. So it was like everyone at the table wanted to do it because it was a fun, gamified way of capturing like that part. And they were like, you have to enter, like to be entered, you have to do your name and email, and you'll also then be getting our awesome monthly deals or whatever. I don't remember how they exactly positioned it. Like it was a really, I was like, every single person, I was looking around and you could just see every tasting, they were doing the thing. And it's
cool.
Not, you don't have like, I remember talking to a friend of mine last summer. We were golfing, and she used to work at this big winery here in town. And I was telling her what I do, and she's like, oh my God, I used to hate having to ask for email addresses.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the attitude our teams have. They're like, I don't want to have, like, they're already having to tick the box that they told them, you know, offered the club, and tick the box. And let's talk about staffing for a second. Maybe these are our favorite team members, but like, I just fucking hated having to ask for email address. And I was like, that's because you're thinking email's going to be annoying. You haven't been armed with scripts that are going to help you do it well. And like, you haven't been given a mechanism. This was like, so it was like a part of, it was woven into the experience. I was having a blast. And I was also like a little tipsy, and I recorded myself. I was like, I'm going to put this on the YouTube channel, but I never did. Because then I watched it later and I was like, that's not cute. Enthused by it that I actually followed up with their marketing person later, because I was like, this is incredible. This is a great tactic. And my friends were all like, okay, but then how do they follow up? And they didn't do a great job of following up, I'll be honest. Like they could have been like, hey, you didn't win our giveaway in June because you guessed the wrong wine, right? But like, here's an offer on the wine that you guessed. Like there are so many obvious ways to nurture me, like beyond Savi B on sale, baby. So
Oh, I love that.
Different ways, right? Online, in person. And so like if you have, you know, you could spend like 20 minutes after you listen to this episode or watch this episode and take a pen and just like jot down all the places you might interact with the customer, and how could you make giving email to your winery in that interaction an organic, fun, and value added way. Just come up with a bunch of ideas and try one. Because I think we're all like feeling like we've tried everything. I think we get a lot of, like, I think there's a lot of energy right now that's like, I'm doing that. I'm doing that.
Mhm.
I'm doing that too. And like, it's not working, but like, maybe we need to think outside of the box a little bit from the perspective of our customer. There goes the timer. And be like, what could I come up with that would like be fun for me to do and fun for my customer to receive?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that idea too, because I feel like with that particular example, doing a blind tasting, that's gonna attract the nerds in the wine world and the people who are really excited about wine in general. And even if they maybe weren't a nerd before, I feel like that's going to be the gateway to them becoming a wine nerd, which is what
Totally.
the ultimate goal is for all wineries, is to turn non-wine people into super nerdy wine people.
I know.
Yeah, so
Well,
I love that idea.
I'm here, I'm having this fun experience in my tasting. What if they put together an offer that was a blind tasting 3-pack? And it was
Oh,
like, you know what I mean? And then it's like totally
fun.
blind. You follow up, you got the blind tasting 3-pack. You had this experience at the tasting room. Now you can recreate it at home. We'll send it with these different prompts. The blindfolds, we'll wrap it in black foil, black tissue, so you can't, like, you could make it an entire experience that channels into their e-commerce experience. And all of a sudden, I'm probably buying that pack.
Yes.
Right? That closes the gap from first subscriber to first purchase online so much faster. And if you can do that, you've got a really engaged subscriber going forward.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I just had this idea of wineries doing, because a lot of wineries do the mystery pack, which sells really, really well for a lot of wineries. And because they're so fun, it's like a discounted, usually discounted case. People who are super nerdy about wine are going to be like, oh, what am I going to get? I hope I get this wine. And they're going to get really excited about it. But I'm like, I just had this vision of doing like a mystery blind tasting 3-pack. And that's like, and it's already like wrapped up, and maybe like you could have special branded socks, bottle socks made. And so it's already like blind. And so then all they have to do is basically just like open the bottles, chill the bottles, open the bottles, and then pour them. And then they can blind taste and then be like, oh, did I get it right? Whatever.
Dude, I mean, going even nerdier,
It's like literally a mystery pack.
Create this. You could have an email that's triggered when a customer orders that specific product that's like, it's on its way to you. Here's how to prepare for your blind tasting party. And like, here's the invitations to forward to your friends. Here's the, like, you could have like set the scene, a whole nurture series between them buying it and it arriving. That it's like, this is the kind of shit we're not doing as an industry.
It's like, so fun.
I can't believe this is just coming into my head as a story so many times since I went tasting at that winery back in June. So many times, and this is the first that this idea has come to me, but I'm telling you that if you could optimize the emails between the purchase and delivery in a way that made them excited, that is like, they're going to be like, what are they going to do next time I buy? I can't find out.
Yeah. And then like, I mean, you could also tie in your social media to it. So it's like, hey, when you do your blind tasting party, don't forget to tag, like, we want to see what you do. Can you like tag us and whatever? And then that will hopefully get more people to get hyped about that and then purchase. Oh my gosh. There's so many opportunities. Okay. If there's a winery out there that's going to do this, please email us. Please tell us, because we will buy that pack and we will do it. Or I won't speak for Erica, but I will for sure do that.
I am the only person that will always say yes if you ask for the email address. By the way, it's like, so you know.
So you know.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love that. Okay, I'm going to talk to a couple of my clients about this, because I think that this would fit really well with some of them in their programs. Oh my gosh, I love it. What a great idea. I feel like I always have such good ideas when I'm with you, Erica.
I'm talking with you because I feel like I'm gonna get enthusiastic by it.
Yeah. Oh, I will hype you up, girlfriend.
I'm here for it.
I am here for it. So good. Okay, so maybe we can come up with some more ideas. Okay, so I have another question for you, and it's what, we kind of touched briefly on newsletters, sort of the nurture. Nobody wants to sign up for your newsletter, but like, are there great winery newsletters out there, like wineries that do a really good job at that, and like, what is the structure of that?
Yeah, I don't think newsletters are dead, okay? Like, I just don't think that newsletters are sexy. If I asked a room full of people, hey, do you want to get my newsletter? I have gotten people that are like, yeah, because they like me. But like most of the time, like what a newsletter is equated to in a customer's mind is like light reading or like not that light reading, or like, it's like, I don't want a
Mm-hmm.
newsletter, or email is not sexy to me. But
Mm-hmm.
I do think that the newsletter format, right? Like a regular, like recurring themes touched on every quarter or even every month, drop in, that type of format has a place. And I even
Mm-hmm.
think that if you're a winery who's trying to up your cadence, but has only ever been sending sort of a roundup style communication, your newsletter could actually become a monthly, like it could be like 4 emails in one. Like you do your newsletter
Mm-hmm.
and then you just peel out your event focus as a resend the next week. You're not recreating the wheel, you're just highlighting the
Mm-hmm.
one aspect that you already did all the work to create when you did your newsletter. And then maybe you do a wine and food pair. You maybe expound on it a little bit and you include a social tie-in, right? Like, hey, here's the recipe that we shared with you in our monthly newsletter with the wine pairing. And our chef Tori built it. We build recipes. Our chef videoed a reel of her making it live, and it's up on our Instagram right now. Go watch it, and then like that'll inspire you to create your own kitchenscape, whatever. So like a newsletter that delivers value in every content category could then become a weekly email that's just one of those content categories, so that you're still in the inbox, repositioning the content in a way that adds value and gets that kind of amplified for the consumer. I like that strategy a lot for a newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a lot of wineries doing them well. I'll just be
Yeah.
honest. Like,
Yeah.
we do a quarterly newsletter from one of our total package clients, and we're reimagining it right now because it had been basically like the dump we were talking about before. It's like, this is where like just we gotta make sure we tick that box, or like Wine Club
Mm-hmm.
really wanted us to mention this. And so we're like reimagining it through the lens of how can the newsletter that we send as a seasonal touch base really be like the like not bell, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the kickoff to the season, and have more
Mm-hmm.
excitement behind it. And so people are like, when they get it, they're like, I do want to read this. I will never get this winemaker or this vineyard manager's words in this way in any other format. So I'm opening
Mm-hmm.
this, I'm reading it. We send it on a Sunday. It's like beat the Sunday scaries with our, spring kickoff or whatever. And it's like, that's kind of the direction we're going with it, is to make it feel a little bit more relational, instead of like, here's the bulletin with all of the things that we're touching on. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my favorite type of email to build, because it's
Yeah.
hard to really know what's moving the needle with it. Like if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
like, a lot of the time a newsletter is structured with like a ton of content to read and not a
Yeah.
lot of action to take to like get more information or read the full blog post or listen to the podcast or whatever. And so then if there's not a clickable element within the newsletter, you have
Mm-hmm.
no idea of knowing whether or not a customer made it to the end of that email.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. That's a good point. Well, yeah, I was going to ask you if you thought like maybe if the newsletter was sort of like also a blog,
Mhm.
like if you were kind of repurposing that content,
Right.
would you want would you recommend having it be like the the blog is like the entire email? So like if they're, say for example, say a winery is kind of updating you on like what's up in the vineyard and the winery. So they're like, "Oh, it's bud break right now, information about that." And then like we're also bottling next month and get excited for these. Would you recommend that being the whole email is the blog, or like just sort of like teasing it out and then like read more? I personally don't love the read more.
Right.
Like I would rather it just all be in my email personally, but I don't know, what have you seen? And yeah.
So there's a winery here in town that has a really clever winemaker who writes in a really unique voice, and it's a little stream of consciousness, but it's uniquely his. And his emails have wild open rates and crazy click-through rates, and they are a tome. Okay. They're just like very long. That is not what most winery writing is.
Mhm.
And so again, going back to like being able to actually monitor what people are engaging with, you may not like to click to read more, but like if you're not training your customer, like our newsletter is a literal newsletter and it's to read, that it could be really hard to know what's moving the needle. So I actually like the idea of it being like, hey, here's a little bit of information. If you want to get more of the story, our full technical details and all of the pictures and da 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 are over at our website. Because, and I don't know, this goes to like image heaviness too, but like if you're blog is image heavy,
Mm-hmm.
want to include a lot of visual elements with your email campaign, the higher, like the megabytes of your email, the lower the chance it's going to end up where you want it to in the customer's inbox
Mm-hmm.
or display the way you want it to display. So that's another kind of challenge. I guess where I'm going with this is it would depend on your winery's voice and what your customers are already used to seeing. And I always, always, always recommend testing, because I might tell you one thing and your customers, who are the people that matter the most, will tell you another by what they actually engage with. I have done like the, hey guys, this letter is too long. Can we please just test a shorter version that was just like wine release, snippet of why it's valuable, call to action, Dracaris, as I like to say, though as Khaleesi likes to say, just like go, right? But it's like, no, I tested that against the letter and the customers liked the letter. I was like, damn it. Sometimes been wrong. So I would recommend, if you're already doing the work to produce a blog post that you're thinking about turning into a newsletter, do an A/B test of a full newsletter, sort of copy pasted and formatted for the inbox a bit. Like you want to be mindful of the height of the containers and bolding text to make it scannable and things like that. But like, test that versus a version that's like, jump to this part of the story, or that's snippets with bigger like call outs to get more on the website. That can be a useful way to get feedback from your customers that also might inform some of your email layouts for other stuff you do. So,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm not
Yeah.
poo-pooing the newsletter. I
No,
do
no.
think there's room for like long form writing in email. And I actually am getting more and more enamored of like plain text email and not just HTML stylized, flashy containers, mobile optimized, all of that. Like actually sending plain text emails to your email service provider is another strategy that we're doing more and more of with good success. So like, I'm not trying to say that short is always right, but more often than not, because consumer attention is such as it is, your email should mix it up, if anything, right? Don't just only
Yeah.
ever send long emails.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I mean, I use, as you know, I use Substack as my blog, but also
Right.
as my email.
Yep.
I was using Flowdesk for a while and I really like Flowdesk, but I just found that I wasn't having fun creating those emails, and I like Substack because it is like you can really jazz it up as much as you want, but like at the very bare minimum, it's very basic and it's easy to kind of like get into. And I've found that a lot of people really like that. So kind of to your point about plain text emails, I think that's one of the reasons I like Substack so much, is it's really allowing me to do that in a way it still feels pretty and nice and all that, but it's like it's basic, it's simple.
Yeah.
So
But basic is getting a bad rap.
yeah,
Simple.
yeah, exactly. Well, you touched a little bit on kind of testing things and all that. How do you know if your emails are working? What does success look like, and what are some kind of metrics and KPIs that we can hone in on to decide if an email is working?
Yeah. I don't measure open rate as like a big indicator of success anymore. I do think you still want to track open rate, because it is an indicator if you're testing days of the week or subject lines of like what's getting people to open your email. But really, at the end of the day, the measurement of success for most wineries is going to be engagement with the email. And so that's going to be your click rate, unsubscribe rate, monitoring what happens on the other end, if they're actually taking the action that you want them to take in terms of conversion. So those are the three metrics that we're working to impact in positive ways through our programming. But I also think that is very determinate on your winery's goals with email. So I believe that every winery can be generating way more online sales by using email marketing, but some wineries are not. That's not their goal. And so if your goal is engagement, or if your goal is connection, you have to have like a measure that is meaningful that reflects that. So a lot of the time you're like, well, I'm sending email, but I'm not getting any responses. Or like, I'm sending email and like, I don't know if it's working. Well, you didn't give the customer anything to do to show you if it's working. So like, if you're not monitoring sales, or your goal isn't sales or conversions in the traditional sense, give your customer a fun Easter egg quiz or question to answer in reply to your email, so that you know they read the whole damn thing. And then that is a measure of the email is actually getting the attention that you want it to get. it's not a great answer, but like those are the metrics I would be looking at, is your click-through open rate, your conversions, if that's something that's valuable to you, and managing unsubscribe. And then in general, your email list health. So that's going to be more like what percentage of your list is actively opening emails from you on a regular basis versus not. And if your list is more than 30% dormant, we want to clean that up. That's a whole separate segue.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a separate episode on that, because I feel like that's such a deep and niche topic
And I
that
know y'all are
it deserves its own space.
You're like, no, I'm clutching my pearls. I don't want to clean up my list, right? It's not the sexiest. It's going to give you some angst.
Yeah. I know. I feel that way a lot too, because I often recommend that people go through their social media list and clean that up, like whoever's following them, and that I always get like huge pushback from that, because they're like, but followers, and I'm like, yeah, but then like if you get rid of the people who aren't even engaging with you, who are bots, who like aren't real, all these things, you're gonna increase your engagement rate, which is gonna get you in front of more people who are actually gonna engage with you, and it's a whole thing. And again, this is a whole other topic that we could dive into. But yeah, it feels scary, but I promise you it's worthwhile to do it. But yeah, okay. So I think we're kind of, as you and I can do, we can both talk. I'm going to give you one last question. And one last question. And I think I know the answer to this, because I feel like you already answered this. But if a winery could only do one thing today to improve their email marketing this month, what should that thing be?
Oh, that's a great question. What I am going to say is like it's a two-parter. I got a two-parter.
I love a two-parter.
Because I already touched on this. If you don't already have an automatic welcome email, I think the most important thing that you can do for your winery's long-term success for email marketing is install an immediate welcome email. And that can also be a fun go back to your list who would never have seen this email before, and maybe make a version of it that's just for them. That older list subscribers is like, hey, I know you've been around a while and we're so glad we get to hang out, but hey, I just wanted to like reintroduce ourselves, or like, hey, did you know these 3 things about us? So you could actually take your welcome email and turn it into like a batch communication to people that are already on your list, to kind of zhuzh them up and get them paying attention to you once more. And if you already have a welcome email and you looked at it in the last 3 months and it's tip top and it touches on all of the things on the 100-point scorecard, then the thing I think that you could do this month that would help you long term is ensure that you have a segmentation strategy for the ongoing emails that you send. Every email that you send could be sent to 3 at least unique audiences in your overall kind of total universe email list in different ways, with just slight tweaks even to the subject line. You're going to get better engagement. So those 3 lists kind of subsegments are your wine club members, purchasers who aren't wine club members, and then what I like to call lurkers, which are people on your list who we don't have any reason to believe is bought wine from you. If you take your next email and make a version of it for those 3 different audiences that speaks directly to the thing that's going to get them over the hump, you'll be able to actually see who might be dragging your metrics down, right? Because you're actually segmenting and sending this email in 3 different containers, so to speak. But you'll also probably get more attention because you're using the hooks that are going to be relevant to a wine club member. You're using the hooks that are going to attract the attention of a buyer. You're using the emotional and kind of like psychological elements or words that are going to mean something to someone who hasn't gotten off the fence and come to see you or bought wine from you before. And that simple action also, like, it sounds woo-woo maybe, but it actually trickles into the other things that you're doing. By actually being intentional about talking to these 3 groups differently, you will find yourself unlocking new ideas for how you can talk to them even more. And the feedback you'll get from the email will also inspire some of that. And so that's a really powerful way to generate some email marketing momentum that you may not have going into taking that action. I'm all about momentum. I want you to get wins. And I think you will get some wins from that mechanism. Did I say something that you thought I was going to say?
You did, yeah. Yeah, you did. I was curious to see if you were gonna like completely go off what I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna mention the welcome email, but I was like, oh, what if I'm completely wrong?
Well, I mean, listen, I also said, like, if you looked at it recently, right? So, like, honestly, that was 3 things. I'm sorry. If you have a welcome email, look at it again. Because I remember like a winery that I was like making besties with this friend, and she was like, well, I sat down with her at this fancy winery in Napa, and she's like, well, what's one thing I can do to like up my email marketing game? And I was like, well, you could look at your welcome email. And she's like, we have
Hmm.
a welcome email? And I was like, show you your welcome email. And it was signed by someone who had left the winery 7 years ago.
No. Oh no.
So this,
No.
like, you know what I mean? Like that's the, and I think
Yeah.
that's what people worry about with like automations is like they're gonna set it and actually forget it, and then they're gonna have
Yeah.
shit like that going out. But like, like we don't look, and maybe there's a picture and it's outdated. Our label has
Hmm.
changed, or it's spring now, and the picture was from last harvest. Like let's
Yeah.
make it fresh. Even just an image update can make it have a little bit more impact. So like build a welcome email if you don't have it. Look at your welcome email if you haven't looked at it in a while. And then if you have both of those things on lock, start being a little more thoughtful with your segmentation. The wineries that win
Hmm.
in the next year are going to be the people who get laser focused on
Yeah.
customer experience, and segmentation is crucial for that.
Hmm. Yeah. I'd also add put looking at your welcome email and all your automations on your calendar at least once a quarter. Yeah. Yeah, I do that. One of the things that I do with all of my social media management clients is I have it on my calendar to look at their links in bio. So if you're using Linktree, or even Instagram now has the ability to add up to 5 links. So I look at those weekly so that we make sure that we're updating those weekly. I look at highlights at least once a month to make sure that those are still relevant, especially if they have like things like events and things like that. And then I also will change out the cover photo on Facebook at least once a quarter, but ideally we'd be doing it every single month, and basically updating that cover photo and all that, because it's just an easy thing to do to make your landing page really welcoming and all that. So
You're
yeah.
hired. Will you please do that?
Yeah.
Like, all the things that you just said to me, I was like,
Yeah.
all right,
Oops. I know. Well, it's funny because I say these things for my clients, but it's something that I rarely do for myself
yep.
because who has the time? So
Do
do
as
what
I
I say, not as I
say,
do.
not as I do. Jinx. Amazing. Well,
Yes.
listen, we do also do the do's. So,
Hmm.
y'all, we're
Yes.
doing.
We're doing the things. And yeah, Erica, thank you so much.
What a
This was
privilege.
such a fruitful conversation, and I hope that everyone listening got so much value out of it. Where can people find you, connect with you, hear you potentially? Do you have any cool things that we should know about going on?
Cool thing. So, like, obviously, if you hang out on the gram, you can find me. I'm at Email Mavens. I also have a weekly email that you can opt in for at emailmavens.com/party. It's a party in your inbox, and I'm invited. So those are the two ways to stay connected with us on an ongoing basis. I would just love to hang out with you in those capacities for now.
Yay, awesome. I will put all of that information in the show notes so you can easily find how to connect with Erica. Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
I
Let's do
know.
it again.